video, I'll show you how we got this skid plate on. Today's video, I'm going to show you how to install your deep snow skid plate on your new Rev Gen 5. We've got a 2023 Summit Expert here in the 165 track, but this process is going to be the same no matter your track length, as long as you've got the Expert front end. You can see other two sleds we've already completed this on, so we figured out some of it and we'll show you a few tips along the way. So this year, Skidoo has changed out and started using these rib nut tools, or these rib nuts, and you need to buy one of these rib nut tools and find it on Amazon for like $30. But we did have to make some modifications to it. We'll show you that later, but as is, it didn't quite work right. And you'll see that later in the video, but you need one of those. Highly recommend a pneumatic rivet gun. You could get away with a hand one. And then you're just putting in some Torx nuts, and you got to drill some pilot holes and holes for these rib nuts. Okay, so the next step, we put our sled on the side. We took out the one bolt that you'll see a picture of. It's also indicated in the instructions that you can download from BRP's website. And the first main step is drilling out pilot holes for where these rib nuts go. So if you come in and look, you can see they've done these little tabs to show you where to drill. I do recommend sticking your skid plate up and just making sure it all lines up. So measure twice, drill once, but you should have 6 of those up front, and you've got 1 on your clutch side and 2 on your exhaust side. 1 in front and 1 in the rear, right outside these rivets. Right. So do be careful not to push too hard and drill too far. Right, there's no backstop.
And go.
So we drilled out our pilot holes as indicated with the 3/16 drill bit. Pretty standard that you'll have that. The main hole for these rib nuts, they ask for a 23/64 drill bit. I didn't have one, but if you do the math, a 3/8 is 5/10,000ths larger, and we've found that suitable, and many of you might have a 3/8 drill bit. Recommend you get the right one, but it's worked for us so far. So this has been the most frustrating part, that after 3 of them, we finally figured out a solution. You'll likely notice with your rib nut tool that you cannot actually thread it onto the rib nuts that Skidoo provides. There's not enough length on the shaft. So what we've done is we've taken out this nut, and we've used a series of washers. So you have to have some plate to apply pressure. So what we've done is we've backed it with a couple of washers so that we're able to make this tool work for our purposes. And instead of putting in the rib nuts into the sled first, we thread them onto our tool, and then we push them in so that they don't spin. If you thread them first, you're going to have a terrible time where they just spin on you. We know because we had a terrible time with that. And then you start it, tighten up your bolt here so that it will thread the rest of the way. And you push it, hopefully till it pops, unscrew it. And what you want to make sure is that you did not pull it through the plastic. So be careful, don't apply too much pressure. We did pop one through by applying a little too much pressure. Okay. Give it one more pull. All right, back it off, and I'll show you what we found for washers to work for this. So again, we had to modify the tool based on the length. So you're gonna need a couple of washers. You need some that are large enough to fit over this shaft, right? That's what we did on the bottom, so that you have some pulling power. And you need one that fits above it, because this is what will push against that nut. So the one screw with a washer goes back in the only location that you actually pulled a screw out of before you started here. So we're on the clutch side closest to the track. And the next step here is we're just going to thread all the bolts, but you don't tighten them all the way. You just get them started, and then we'll go on to the rivets. So the next step, we're going to put in the 4 rivets here. Again, I recommend a pneumatic rivet gun, but a hand one will probably do. So insert your rivet into the hole. Simple as that. So the last step is just to go back, and you should have started all of your bolts that were in the rib nuts, and we're just going to go ahead and hand tighten these down. You can reference the installation guides for the torque specs should you like, but we're just going to work our way around tightening all our bolts. Okay, we are skid plate complete.